World of Warcraft TBC Classic. One Holy Paladin with one goal. Best in slot gear. This is week 3 of the grind. Last week we completed the Karazhan attunement. The key is in our bags, the gates are real. The raid is no longer a distant idea, it's our next destination. We also came out last week with some meaningful gear upgrades. The Pontifex kilt, our first actual pre-BiS piece, is locked in and going nowhere. The one thing we're still carrying from last week that we're not happy about, the Raiments of Nature's Breath, a green druid robe sitting in the middle of an otherwise respectable paladin outfit. It stays until we rip it off with our own hands and replace it with something worthy. That is the mission this week. And before we get into it, if you're new here and you want to follow a Holy Paladin's journey from blue gear all the way to BiS, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the series, a like goes a long way in helping the channel grow and getting this content in front of more people. It really means a lot. Now, week 3, let's get to work. The Heroic Daily is in the Botanica, a dungeon we don't have unlocked for Heroic yet. The normal daily is in Shattered Halls. Neither of those is where we're going. We're going straight into the Shadow Labyrinth, because if you watched last episode, you know about the Hallowed Garments incident. You know about the greed button, you know what happened. We're not moving on until we correct that mistake. But before we zone in, a quick note on something we've been sitting on. With our current gear and the druid robes we're wearing, we do have a backup option. The Anchorite robes are available from the Eldor Quartermaster once we hit Honored. They look like they belong on a paladin, they're a real stat piece, and they're sitting there as a safety net. We're not buying them just yet. We're gonna be giving Shadow Lab every chance to do the right thing first. We zone in. Hellmaw goes down without drama. As we're clearing the theater room toward Blackheart, an assassin breaks off and makes a beeline for our druid. I sprint toward him, mouse already hovering over the Bob macro, and I'm half a second too late. The druid falls, and because my macro casts Bob on my current target, with the druid now dead, it lands on me instead. That's a macro fix I need to make. If the target is dead, the cast simply should not go off. We resurrect the druid, regroup, and engage Blackheart the Insider. As a healer, Inside Chaos is the one mechanic in this game that makes me feel completely powerless. All I can do is keep everyone as topped up as possible going into the phase so they have the best chance of surviving what's about to happen. This time, Blackheart stuns me right as I'm about to top off the Warlock, and the moment Insight begins, the Shaman and I, in our frenzied state, immediately turn on the already low health Warlock together. He doesn't make it. We bring Blackheart down without further casualties and keep moving. 4-pill, the Hallowed Pauldrons are in his loot table. Not the priority, but a nice bonus if the light is feeling generous. We clear up to him, put him down, and check the loot window. No shoulders. Moving on. The final corridor before Murmur gets messy. We pull slightly more than we can manage, get mind controlled at the worst possible moment, and aggro spirals out of control. We lose people, wipe, come back, and make it to Murmur. This is the room. This is where it happened. I'm not going to pretend I'm not nervous. Murmur goes down. He does not drop the Hallowed Garments. We queue again immediately. Second run, Hellmaw nearly takes out the tank at the end as I get feared and don't use my bubble in time. Hellmaw was low enough that the team finishes him anyway. Our rogue goes offline and we have to swap him for a mage. Vorpil again. He drops the same truncheon from last run. Of course he does. Murmur again. No chess piece. 2 full runs, 0 Hallowed Garments. The druid robe stays on. After the Shadow Lab session, I decided to make progress on another slot while the chest situation resolves itself. The General Lamellar Bracers are a plate wrist upgrade available for 10 battleground marks and 10,000 honor. It's PvP content, which regular viewers know is not my natural habitat. But the bracers are on the pre-BiS list and the grind is the grind. I queue up. It takes so long to find a match that I pause the recording. You can probably guess what happens next. I forget to hit the record again. In my defense, it was around midnight and the reasoning centers of my brain had gone to sleep before the rest of me had. The good news is you've been spared from watching a Holy Paladin stumble through Warsong Gulch with no idea what's happening. The better news is that between a daily quest completion and winning a round, I scraped together 11 Warsong Gulch marks. The bracers are waiting at the PvP vendor. Finding that vendor is its own adventure. First stop, the vendors in Shatra, nothing. Someone mentions there are PvP vendors in Area 52 and Netherstorm, so I fly out there. Also nothing. Then I make my way to Stormwind because someone once told me there are vendors near the king. Nothing there either. And then it clicks. While I was leveling and exploring Stormwind, I stumbled into a room in Old Town. A room with a loading screen and rows of vendors selling purple gear with stats I couldn't even dream about as a level 20. I remember the room because I spent about 10 minutes in there just staring at the gear I had no business owning. Sure enough, after a bit of wandering, the bracers are there. They're listed as Marshal Lamellar's bracers rather than General's Lamellar's bracers. Different name, identical stats, which is genuinely confusing, and I bought them anyway. Were they an upgrade? At midnight, with my dopamine-deprived brain seeing purple-colored plate bracers, the answer felt like an obvious yes. In editing, looking at the numbers with fresh eyes, we gain a significant chunk of armor and 14 crit, but we lose 17 healing power, 6 intellect, and 5 MP5s. This was not an upgrade. I'm not going to rationalize it. Last episode, I accidentally hit greed on a BiS chest piece. This episode, I purchased a healing downgrade because the item was purple and I was tired. I will own it, divine punishment accepted. What I do next is immediately head to the auction house and buy gems to slot into the bracers and the 2 empty slots in the Pontifex kilt. The gems I bought, Royal Knight's Eye for 9 healing and 2 MP5, and the Brilliant Dawnstone for 8 intellect, slotted into the correct colors. A comment on the last video flagged that the iridescent fire opal I put in the red slot of the kilt might belong in the yellow slot instead to unlock additional healing power stacking potential. The logic makes sense, but I'm not fully sure whether the intellect trade-off is worth it. Drop your thoughts in the comments because I want to get this right. Heroic Daily is in the Tempest Keep. We can't do that one. You know where we're going. While waiting for a Shadow Lab group to form, I do the fishing daily. 2 reasons. First, the golden fish sticks give 44 bonus healing and 20 spirit, which is a free stat boost that costs nothing but a few minutes by the water. Second, completing the daily rewards a bag of fishing treasures, which can contain a range of useful items inside, and, more interestingly, a ring called the 2 Ring, an obvious nod to a certain piece of jewelry from a certain trilogy that if you play World of Warcraft, you have almost certainly read or watched. If you know, you know. Shadow Lab run number 3. Helma there for filler as always. Shortly after we complete our daily quest, which is a nice bonus. Blackheart, complete coin flip every time. This time he chooses the easy way and goes down without sending anyone to the spirit healer. A clean inside phase feels like a small miracle at this point. Vorpil, the boss we actually care about, he drops the breastplate of Many Graces chest piece. Although it is healing gear, it is not the correct slot. And while it's technically an exit ramp from the druid robe situation, I'd be sacrificing healing power, intellect, and spirit to take it. I stare at the loot window for a moment, and I decide to let it go. We need the real chest, not a consolation prize. The druid robe is going to stay on, and we keep our standards. Murmur drops the same shield for the 3rd consecutive run. I have Steamrigger flashbacks. He also drops the Spalders of Oblivion, cloth shoulders with an interesting 2-piece set bonus of 45 mana per 5 seconds if paired correctly. Cloth though. And we have the purple plate pauldrons on our shoulders that we love, so we pass. Turn in the daily for another key. The key pile in our bags is getting large, and we need to go use them. More on that later. Q for heroic slave pens. The belt and the boots from Rokmar are still on the wishlist. Slave pens is one of the most efficient badge dungeons in the game when the team knows the skips. 3 badges and you're out in good time, as long as nobody gets feared into the entire dungeon. Menu the Betrayer goes down with his usual group of goons, first badge secured. We gamble and clear to the chest after Menu for some bonus loot potential. We get nothing. Don't gamble. Just before Rokmar, our druid gets eaten by the crabs before I can react. The lobster himself drops a tank cape. We check if the tank needs it, he doesn't, and we grab it for the off-spec collection. Quagmiron is the final boss. And I want to take a moment here because I can't be the only one who gets reminded of Quagsire every time I see this boss's name. He goes down, badge secured, slave pens complete. More marks of Sargeras turned in on the way out. We cross into Honored with the Aldor. That unlocks a look at the anchorite robes at the quartermaster, and I walk over, pull them up, and give them a serious look. They look good. They're a real piece. One of you in the comments specifically recommended these as a serious option. And I put them back. Not yet. Shadow Lab gets a few more chances. When we have exhausted every reasonable attempt at the Hallowed Garments, then we buy the anchorite robes, not before. Heroic Augenite Crypts for a shot at the light-touched Stole of Altruism, and the Slippers of Serenity from Maladar. We zone into a partially cleared dungeon. The previous healer had apparently already left. We get to the bridge and almost immediately pop the bubble as the damage coming in is severe. Aggro is all over the place, and as I'm mid-cast on a Holy Light, the tank dies. The spell goes off but doesn't land, and I'm still not sure why. Whatever the cause, the tank leaves the party immediately after the wipe. Rough. Coming back from the spirit healer, I start to wonder if the previous healer left for the same reason. Then we get a look at the replay, and it becomes clear the tank was dual-wielding weapons. No shield, no tank stance that actually works for absorbing physical damage. That explains a lot. One of our warriors switches to a proper tank setup, a priest joins the group, and with a priest in the party, my mana conservation concerns basically evaporate. A priest is a mana battery, and I love every one of them. A quick note that comes to mind when clearing, some Felsteel gloves drop for the warrior, and I'm reminded that we have a blacksmithing skill that hasn't been touched in a very long time. The question is whether it's worth investing in right now, given how expensive it is to level, and how badly we need gold for the fast flying mount and the Netherwing Drake grind. Should we push blacksmithing and eventually sell crafted gear for income? Or would swapping to enchanting or jewel crafting be a smarter money-making choice long term? Drop your recommendation in the comments. I want to hear what's actually working for people. Shirok the Dead Watcher. My favorite boss to feel completely useless against. His cast time debuff stacks with proximity, and my Holy Light climbs from 2 seconds to over 6 seconds at 4 stacks. One of you suggested in the comments keeping Shirok at the top of the stairs with range staring at the bridge to avoid stacking the debuff. I haven't implemented it this run since this was filmed a few weeks back, but that tip is safe and appreciated. First pull on Shirok, we wipe as I simply cannot keep up with the cast time penalty. We come back, I throw a Judgment of Light on him immediately for passive healing throughput and discover something useful. Inside my bubble, I can heal without the cast time penalty entirely. That mechanic is now in the toolkit permanently. The fight gets extremely close at the end as the tank drops, but he brings Shirok down on the way out. We take it. Maladar, no cape, no boots, badge collected, we head out. Fishing break while waiting for a guild group to run normal Alcatraz. Nothing critical drops in here, but the team is solid and it's good rep and practice time. Delia the Doomsayer. Just don't stand in the spinny emote. Wrathscryer, every time I try to say his name out loud, my brain immediately goes to a certain Greek philosopher. Skyrus goes down, drops a chest for the shaman. From there, we do some questing in Terakar. A few coins toward the Dragon Mount. We also deal with the Worm Mother quest. I tried this one solo last week and found it nearly impossible. The answer is a hungry druid friend and combined firepower. Late that evening, a guild friend needs another Black Morass run for reputation. We go in as the tank, mostly as a favor, and mostly as a complete liability. The warrior in our group was an absolute force of nature, and there was simply no way our threat generation was going to compete. We basically spent the run being an inconvenience for our healer, while the warrior handled everything that mattered. First boss down, Temporis down, Aeonos spawns, finds us briefly interesting, and then we're forced to use Lay on Hands just to give our healer a moment to breathe. Aeonos goes down, the Scarab of the Infinite Cycle does not drop. We needed it as a healer and went in as a tank. Feels about right. Our friend immediately asks for another run. He's close to his reputation goal and we still want that trinket. So this time we go in as a healer. Paladin tank, clean group, the rune is smooth from start to finish. Chronoloord Deja, handled. Temporis, handled. Aeonos, I completely failed to record this boss, and I'm sorry. It has to happen at least once per episode apparently. But what does not fail to appear in the loot window? The Scarab of the Infinite Cycle. The trinket we came back for. A massive 70 bonus healing passively, plus a spell haste proc on healing casts that will directly address our brutal holy light cast times. We swap out the light channeler immediately and gain 11 healing power on top of everything else the Scarab brings. That is a significant upgrade, worth the late night. Heroic Daily is Ikiss and Sethek Hulls. We know our current limits, and Sethek Heroic with this gear level would be a disaster. We go to Slave Pens instead. Efficient badges, potential belt, and boots from Rokmar, no apologies. Menu, badge 1. Rokmar drops the wrong belt, badge 2. We perform the hill skip after several attempts that I won't count out loud. Along the way, we get our first look at a mage using invisibility. I honestly forgot this ability existed. It feels genuinely underused as a mechanic, and it would be incredible if more parts of the game rewarded creative use of abilities like this one. The mage slips past a group of mobs completely undetected, while we play an extended game of hide and seek with some crabs. Rokmar drops the Swamplight Lantern, a genuinely excellent healer offhand that I believe is listed as BiS somewhere. As a role-playing Holy Paladin, we carry a shield, and that is not changing. We hit need just to have it safely in the bags, just in case for the future. He also yields a Royal Tanzanite gem that we roll need on too. As we're about to use the portal out, the mage vanishes, literally, uses invisibility and disappears from the dungeon, stranding us inside. The druid then leaves the party, which through some combination of events glitches us in the dungeon, and my Heartstone is on cooldown. So we queue for another dungeon. Heroic Auconite Crypts for the daily. The Warlock opens the run by grabbing more threat than any cloth wearer should ever hold, and pays for it immediately. On the bridge, we pull slightly too much, nearly wipe, and then watch our rogue slip into the shadows, survive alone, and then resurrect us. I had no idea rogues could do that. That is impressive. Sharok, the rogue and hunter go absolutely feral on the DPS and burn him down before the cast time penalty becomes a problem. Sometimes the answer is just trusting your team to kill things fast enough. Maladar, we check the loot window, and there it is. The light touch Stole of Altruism. The cape, the one that in episode 1 I said looks like it belonged draped across the shoulders of someone personally blessed by the light. The BiS cape that has been on the wish list since the pre-BiS plan in episode 1. We grab it, we equip it immediately. We are not calm about this. This cape looks amazing. New BiS piece gets taken straight into Heroic Underbog for more badges. We don't critically need anything from the drops here. BiS legs and BiS shield are already secured, but badges are badges. Ungarfin down. Karazhan, badge secured. Muzelek, I nearly missed the record button again, catching it just as our mage goes down. At some point, this becomes a series tradition. The Stalker drops the Storm Song Kilt, one of the male leg options from the original pre-BiS list. For a brief moment, I consider rolling on it to satisfy the paladin wearing armor fantasy, since we're currently in cloth legs. But the shaman actually needs these. We already have the BiS Pontifex kilt locked in, and the white color scheme on the kilt honestly looks better than the blue mail anyway. We pass, the shaman gets a great upgrade. Fishing daily completed in Nagrand. Nothing exciting in the bag of treasures this time. Over in Netherstorm, we finally start working toward the Ethereum Key questline. Those keys have been stacking up from the dailies, and it's time to put them to use. The mechanic is simple. Open a purple prison orb, get either a hostile mob that drops a prisoner ID, or a friendly mob that rewards faction reputation with a random faction. Turning in the IDs gives consortium reputation. Each ID turn-in, move the consortium needle by 275 rep. For a daily that takes minutes, this is a remarkably efficient reputation method, and we'll be doing this as consistently as possible going forward. Day 5 starts in Stormwind, not the usual start. A hunter in the city asks if I can help clear the stockades for crafting materials. He offers gold. I tell him not to worry about it. We can't be a holy paladin chosen by the light and turn down someone who needs help. We head in. I've only been in the stockades once while leveling and it shows. I probably could have pulled the entire dungeon, but I didn't want to embarrass myself. So we take it one group at a time. At the end, the hunter tries to pay me again. I decline. He points out that some of the loot can only be picked up by me. I had not realized that and had been leaving it on the floor the whole time. We pick it all up and hand it over for free anyway. Small moment, but it's this kind of thing this character should be doing. Back in Shatra for dailies. Heroic is Arcatraz. Can't do that one. Normal is Shattered Halls. Nothing we critically need in there. We go to Shadow Lab. We know the routine. Helma, done. Blackheart, done. We pick up an adamantite deposit on the way because every gold piece matters. I will say, with each new gear piece, the dungeon feels meaningfully easier to heal through. The progression is working. The numbers are going up. Normal difficulty is no longer a serious test, which means heroics and eventually raids are where this character needs to be. Vorpil drops the breastplate of many graces again. Third time we've seen this drop. We are past it, Vorpil. We know it's plate, we know it checks a box, but we are holding out for something better, and no amount of plate is going to change that right now. The Boomkin asks if you want to run again after this clear. With a solid group locked in, we say yes without hesitation. Run number 2. Hellmaw, Blackheart, another rock. We cross our fingers on Vorpil. He drops something different this time at least. We move to Murmur and we pray. Literally. We link the Hallowed Garments in chat as our petition to the light, because that is clearly how divine intervention works in this game. Murmur goes down, the loot window opens. At the top, the Hallowed Garments. Deep breath, mouse moves deliberately to the need button, and we click. They're ours. After weeks of runs, one catastrophic greed misclick, and more Shadow Lab clears than I want to count, we have the chest piece. The Druid robe is gone. We made a mistake and we paid the price in full. And now the debt is cleared. Are the Hallowed Garments better than the raiments of Nature's Breath in raw stats? Honestly, maybe not. But they have gem slots, and with the right gems, they can get there. More importantly, they are not a green Druid robe. That alone makes them better. The moment we equip them, the whole character snaps into place. Purple cloth chest that matches the purple plate helmet, shoulders, and gloves. The look has an identity now. I set out imagining golden plate armor and a divine beam from the heavens. What we actually have is a purple ensemble that somehow works better than anything I planned. Nothing like a matching outfit in an RPG to make the whole grind feel worth it. We are currently sitting at 55 badges of justice. The plan from episode 1 was to spend 50 on the helmet of the steadfast champion. Looking at the character now, the purple mask of penance is on her head and it fits the aesthetic perfectly. Spending 50 badges to replace it immediately after finally getting the look right feels like the wrong move, especially if Karazhan is coming next week and a helmet upgrade could drop in there. So we do some research, and with confirmation from a comment on the previous video, get the Essence of the Martyr first. It's 41 badges, it's an actual phase 1 BiS trinket, and the passive stats are significant. 84 bonus healing just from having it equipped is a huge boost, and an on use that adds a further 297 healing power for 20 seconds. That is not a small number. That is raid level impact item available right now. We walk up to the badge vendor and spend 41 badges. The lower city prayer book comes out, the Essence of the Martyr goes in. We now have an actual phase 1 BiS piece locked into the character. Back to the auction house for gems to fill the Hallowed Garment slots. Full transparency on the choices made. Spell crit gems on the bracers and garments, healing power and MP5 also on the garments. Are these the optimal choices? Some of you are going to have strong opinions. I apologize if tears were shed or keyboards were broken. I wasn't min-maxing here. I'm not expecting to be in this pre-raid gear for long. I was buying the cheapest options available that move stats in the right general direction. If you have specific gem recommendations that won't break the bank, drop them in the comments. I read all of them. Quick reputation snapshot before the final dungeon sessions. Lower City Exalted. Done. Cenarian Expedition and Honor Hold, both around 75% to Exalted. Keepers of Time, it just crossed into Revered. The Shatar, 69% to Revered. Nice. The Consortium, 28% to Revered. Aldor, barely into Honored. Why do we care about Aldor? The Greater Inscription of Faith shoulder enchant is the best shoulder enchant for us. It's a long-term goal that doesn't matter until we have actual BiS shoulders, but let's not wait until the last second to work on that rep. Netherwing, still neutral. The Drake is patient. Shout out to Golden, the Warlock, who messaged me in-game. Logging into a game and seeing a message like that is a really nice surprise, and I appreciate it more than you probably know. Heroic Daily is Steamboats. Normal is Mechanar. We go to Slave Pens. Look, the Lobster still has a belt we want. We have no shame about this. One of the skips goes badly wrong as we get feared directly into a group of crabs. We had used the bubble a minute earlier, escaping a similar situation. So when the second fear hits, there's nothing left to pop. We accept the wipe with dignity. Menu sends our mage to the next life, but we bring him down and collect the badge. Our Warlock takes a swimming detour on one of the shortcuts. We arrive at Rokmar. He absolutely punishes the tank. Takes longer than it should for me to get the full heal out, and then the tank goes down with Rokmar nearly dead. He follows shortly after. The tail cracks open and produces the Wavefury Boots. We wanted the belt more, but we're not going to pretend a genuine upgrade isn't sitting there. The boots are equipped immediately. Rokmar drops some nice boots for the mage, badge secures, and we head out. Fishing daily turn in, nothing in the bag, moving on. Then something catches my eye in the trade channel. Someone is looking for one healer for Karazhan tonight. I whisper them, first time ever in Karazhan, I've watched guides, I've read Wowhead, I know the fights. And they say no. They want someone who already knows what they're doing. It's completely fair, they're running a raid and need a reliable healer. But they do mention they might have a spot next week, we'll keep that in mind. Turn in a stack of fell armaments at the Aldor for easy reputation and collect some holy dust for the eventual shoulder enchant. Then into heroic steamboats for the final badge push. First pull of the run goes wrong immediately. We're all standing a little too close to a boglord, it clips us with AoE, and I heal the Warlock and then myself instead of hitting the bubble and healing the tank. The tank goes down, we make a run for it. I call it out immediately. That one is on me. We reset and go back in with proper positioning. On another pull, the tank gets feared. I don't dispel as I think pumping out heals is a better choice. A siren then lands a proper slapper on me shortly after. I bubble the moment it lands and keep spamming holy lights. More mana than ideal was burned, but everyone survives. Thespia, the recording glitches slightly, but she goes down and badge is ours. Steamrigger, badge collected. Calithresh drops a tank cape that nobody needs and hands us the final badge of the session. Daily turned into Shatra for 2 bonus badges. A final badge count, 22 badges remaining after the Martyr purchase. The Steadfast Champion helmet is at 50 again, so the grind continues. The Hallowed Garments are finally ours, earned twice over after what happened last episode. The essence of the Martyr is in the trinket slot, and the actual Phase 1 BiS is locked in. The Light Touch Stole of Altruism cape joins the Pontifex Kilt as our second confirmed BiS piece. The purple aesthetic is fully realized and I'm completely on board with where this character looks. Helmet, shoulders, gloves, chest, it all matches. The Golden Paladin fantasy is still a distant objective, but we are getting closer to it each week. I can feel it. And Karazhan is 1 day away. If you don't want to miss what happens when a Holy Paladin in Pre-BiS gear walks through those gates for the first time, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. If you've been enjoying the series, a like genuinely helps more people find it. And to everyone leaving comments with gem recommendations, gear advice, dungeon tips, and words of encouragement, this series would not be what it is without that community. I am incredibly grateful for every single one of you. See you in the next one. The light provides.